Christmas Day attack at the U.S. Embassy in Kabul, Afghanistan, and there are conflicting reports about exactly what happened. An embassy official says indirect fire hit the compound and that all the Americans are accounted for. Here's some video from the scene. While the Taliban claims it fired rockets and inflicted heavy casualties. All of this amid word the Obama administration may be softening its deadline in terms of a deal to keep U.S. troops in Afghanistan beyond the 2014 deadline. Joining us now, Ambassador John Bolton, former U.S. ambassador to the United Nations and Fox News contributor. Ambassador, let's start with this. How bad is the situation right now in Afghanistan? How bad does it have the potential to get?
Well, I think with the prospect of American withdrawal or substantial drawdown in forces and other NATO forces, Taliban and al-Qaeda know that time is on their side. And I think this attack on the embassy this morning, small though it was a piece of propaganda. It's not coincidence it was on Christmas. It's not coincidence they're showing they can attack our embassy at a time and a manner of their choosing. And I think it's designed to affect the feeling among the Afghan population. I must say the administration, maybe it's waking up a little bit to what the Pentagon has been telling the White House for some time, that if American troops really do end up withdrawing from Afghanistan, I'm sad to say we're going to be right back where we were before 9/11.
We've heard so much about the potential of a U.S. withdrawal, the security deal that the president of Afghanistan, President Karzai, keeps talking about. It seems as though he is, at some level, just stringing the United States along, trying to extract a higher and higher price. At one point, we thought we had a deal, and then that fell apart.
Well, that's why this extension of the deadline really is very troubling. You know, when you're in a negotiation situation and you lay down a deadline or you lay down another condition and then you back away from it, it tells the negotiator on the other side that maybe other things you've said were paramount importance aren't so important after all. So I'm afraid this is a very bad way for the White House to go about this. I have chills when I think about what happened in Iraq, where we went through the same kind of negotiation, couldn't reach a deal, American forces had to withdraw, and we now have both chaos in that country and increased Iranian influence. So it's a bad situation unless the administration pays more attention to it. This requires high-level attention to nail this deal down.
It seems so easy if that you can use that word in the beginning after the September 11th attacks to take over Afghanistan. Is it going to be much? It seems as though it's been much harder to actually convert Afghanistan into something that can be a state surviving on its own without the U.S. security influence.
Well, honestly, I think that was our biggest mistake. I don't think we're going to convert Afghanistan. I think it was a mistake to try. We're not going to make it into the Switzerland of Central Asia. We're not going to make it into a democracy. We're not going to eliminate corruption. We're not going to improve its economy or change its basic politics. What we went in for, what we're there for now, and what we should stay for is to prevent Taliban and al-Qaeda from retaking control and using it as a base for international terrorism, and equally, or maybe even more important, making sure that Pakistan, right next door, doesn't fall into the hands of their Taliban or radicals and that stock of nuclear weapons. We are not there to improve Afghanistan. We're there for American national security interests. At least that's what our priority should be.
It seems like, though, the person that we're negotiating with, President Karzai here, he doesn't at least seem to share that goal of American national security interests. Is that an accurate statement?
Well, I think from his behavior, that's the only conclusion you can draw. And, you know, one way to handle this from a negotiator's point of view is in private remind him very clearly he wouldn't be there but for us. It's not the first time we've met with ingratitude from people we've put in power, but I think if we had, I'll be blunt here, leaned on him harder earlier, this deal would be done on terms favorable to the United States. And the conclusion I draw is the White House's unwillingness to insist on terms favorable to the United States demonstrates their real underlying feeling they just like to withdraw American troops entirely.
It seems like, though, as we're talking about this and as this is going on, there continues to be a number of attacks on Americans there. If it's some level that Americans are becoming more at risk because they have less ability to respond, how right now can Americans protect the people that they have on the ground right now amid these negotiations, some would say with one arm tied behind their back by President Karzai?
Well, I think it's both President Karzai, but the U.S.'s own policy there. If the only thing you're trying to achieve is protecting your own forces, it's a legitimate question why you have forces there at all. And this goes to the basic question what the Obama administration really wants. There are a lot of people in Afghanistan underneath President Karzai, out in the rest of society, who fully understand if America goes, Karzai's going to go soon after. That government is not going to survive, I'm afraid to say. And what Taliban is trying to do by these attacks on American troops, by this attack today on the embassy, is to demonstrate that they are the coming power, that we are withdrawing, our influence is declining, so that if the Afghan population as a whole wants to be on the side of the winner, they should recognize it's Taliban. We could change that perception, but we are not doing it.
And we'll see what happens with the Afghanistan elections come April 2014. Ambassador John Bolton, thanks for joining us on Christmas. Merry Christmas to you and yours. I look behind you, see some mountains. It's always nice to be where it is white for Christmas.